The sky above Serenity Prime burned orange and red. Smoke rose from the beautiful floating cities that once danced among the clouds like jewels. Now they crashed to the ground one by one as the Vorthak ships fired their weapons without mercy. Ambassador. Ziraka pressed her back against the broken wall of the communication center. Her blue skin was covered in dust and cuts. Her forearms shook as she tried to work the damaged equipment. Outside, she could hear the screams of her people and the roar of enemy ships. The Catherians had never been warriors. They were traders, teachers, and peacemakers. Their world was a garden of crystal trees and singing rivers. They built their cities in the air so they would never harm the ground below. They had never hurt anyone in their long history, but the Vorthak did not care about their peaceful ways. Ziraka remembered when the first Vorthak ships arrived 3 weeks ago. The messages had been simple. Surrender your world. Join the hegemony. Serve us, and some of you may live. The Catherian Council had sent back their usual answer to such threats. Let us talk. Let us find peace together. There is no need for violence. The Vorthak answer had been to destroy the first floating city. Now, as Ziraka worked with the broken radio, she could see the enemy ships through the hole in the wall. They were huge dark things that looked like flying mountains covered in weapons. They moved slowly across the sky, taking their time. They knew they had already won. The Catherian defense ships had tried to fight back. They were small, fast vessels, built for exploration and rescue work. Against the Vorthak war fleet, they had lasted less than an hour. Most of the pilots had never fired a weapon in anger before that day. Many had died still trying to talk to their attackers instead of shooting back. Please work, Ziraka whispered, to the communication equipment. Her fingers danced over the controls, trying to get a signal to reach beyond their solar system. Please work. She had been the Catherian ambassador to the Galactic Council for 20 years. She had made friends with dozens of species across the galaxy. Surely someone would help them. Surely the Council would not let an entire world die. The radio crackled to life. Ziraka felt hope rise in her chest like a warm flame. She quickly began recording her message. This is Ambassador Ziraka of Serenity Prime, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. We are under attack by the Vorthak hegemony. They came without warning. They will not listen to reason. Our defense forces are gone. Our cities are falling. She paused as another explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling like gray snow. The Vorthak are enslaving our people. They are killing anyone who cannot work. They have broken every law of civilized space, every treaty, every rule that keeps us safe from each other. Her voice began to crack. We need help. Anyone who can hear this message, please help us. We are dying. She took a deep breath and finished the message. This is Ambassador Ziraka of the Catherian people, calling all civilized species. Please respond. Please help us. The message went out across space, carried by waves that moved faster than light. It would reach the nearest worlds in hours, the far edges of the galaxy in days. Ziraka waited. The first answer came from the Gentle Collective, a group of plant-like beings who lived on peaceful garden worlds much like Serenity Prime. We hear your pain, friends of Serenity Prime, their message said. We are sending you our thoughts and our hopes. We will light candles for your people and sing songs of peace. Ziraka stared at the radio. Candles and songs would not stop the Vorthak ships. The second message came from the Harmonious Federation. Ambassador Ziraka, we are deeply troubled by your situation. We have voted to watch your world and send reports to the Galactic Council. We hope this matter can be resolved through proper channels soon. Watch, report, hope. More useless words. More messages came as the hours passed. The binary minds offered to calculate the best peaceful solution. The crystal singers promised to create beautiful music in memory of your world. The wise elders said they would consider this matter carefully and respond when they had reached a decision. None of them offered to send ships. None of them offered to fight. They were all too civilized for violence, too peaceful for war. Even when faced with murder and slavery, they would rather talk and think and hope. As night fell over the burning city, Ziraka felt despair settle over her like a cold blanket. She had been foolish to think anyone would come. The galaxy was full of gentle species who hated violence so much they would rather let evil win than fight against it. She was about to turn off the radio when a new message came through. The signal was strong and clear, but it came from a part of space she did not recognize. "Ambassador Ziraka, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command," a voice said. The words were spoken in perfect Cytherian, but the accent was strange. "We received your distress call. Hold your position. The cavalry is coming." Ziraka did not understand the word cavalry, but something in the speaker's voice made her sit up straight. It was cold and hard like metal, but underneath the coldness was something else, something that sounded like controlled anger. "Who are you?" Ziraka asked into the radio. "What species are you? Where do you come from?" "We are human," the voice replied. "We come from Sol System, and we do not like bullies." Ziraka had never heard of humans or Sol System. She checked her database of known species and found nothing. How could there be a space-traveling race that was not in the Council records? "I do not know your people," she said, "but if you can help us, please hurry. The Vorthak are moving to destroy the last of our cities tomorrow. They want to make an example of our world." "Understood," Admiral Chen replied. "We will be there in 18 hours. Tell your people to find shelter and stay away from the enemy ships. When we arrive, things are going to get loud." The connection ended, leaving Ziraka alone with her confusion and a tiny spark of hope. She did not know who these humans were or why they had never joined the Galactic Council, but they were coming. Unlike all the civilized species with their thoughts and prayers and careful considerations, the humans were actually coming to help. Outside, the Vorthak ships continued their slow patrol over the dying world. Their commander, Gorth Val, was already planning the victory celebration. One more world would bow to the hegemony. One more peaceful species would learn that kindness was weakness. He had no idea that his message to surrender had been heard by creatures from a world where kindness and violence walked hand in hand, where people who loved peace were willing to go to war to protect it. The humans were 18 hours away, and they were very angry. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, staring at the alien message that had changed everything. Around her, the command center hummed with quiet activity. Officers moved between their stations like dancers who had practiced the same steps for years. The message from the Cytherian ambassador played again on the main screen. Chen watched the alien's face as she begged for help. The fear in those large, dark eyes reminded Chen of her own daughter, lost years ago when pirates had raided the Mars colonies. "Admiral," Captain Marcus Webb said quietly, "the fleet is ready. All 1,200 ships are waiting for your orders." Chen nodded, but did not turn away from the screen. 1,200 ships, 300 years of secret building, hidden from the galaxy that had rejected humanity. 3 centuries of preparing for a war that might never come. The Galactic Council had found Earth in 2157. First contact had gone badly, very badly. The Council representatives had arrived just as humanity was fighting its bloodiest war in centuries. The Third World War had been raging for 5 years. Nuclear fire had turned whole continents into glass. Billions were dead. The aliens had taken one look at humanity and made their decision. Too violent, they had declared. Too aggressive. These creatures are not ready for civilized space. They must be quarantined until they learn to control their violent nature. They had built a barrier around the Sol system. Nothing could get in or out without Council permission. Humanity was alone again, trapped in their own corner of space like dangerous animals in a cage. But humans were very good at being told they could not do something. Over 300 years, humanity had found ways around the barrier. They had built ships in secret. They had trained soldiers and explored the galaxy without the Council knowing. They had watched the civilized species with their pretty words and peaceful ways, and they had seen what happened when evil came to those who refused to fight back. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Hayes said from the communications station, "we are getting more responses to the Cytherian distress call." "Put them on speaker," Chen ordered. The bridge filled with alien voices, all offering the same useless help. Thoughts and prayers, careful consideration, deep concern and monitoring of the situation. "Cowards," Captain Webb muttered. "Every damn one of them." Chen understood why the aliens acted this way. Most species had evolved on kind worlds with gentle weather and no major predators. They had learned to solve problems by talking and thinking and waiting. Humans had evolved on Earth. Earth was not kind. Earth tried to kill everything that lived on it. Ice ages and volcanoes, storms that could level cities, predators with claws and teeth and poison, disease that could wipe out entire populations in months. Even the plants and bacteria wanted to kill you. Humanity had survived by being tougher, meaner, and more stubborn than everything else on their world. They had learned to fight back against anything that threatened them. They had learned that sometimes violence was the only answer that worked. The galaxy had called that barbaric. Chen called it practical. Admiral, Dr. Elena Vasquez said, walking onto the bridge. She was the fleet's expert on alien life, one of the few humans who had actually met other species. I have been studying the Cytherian transmissions. Their planet is beautiful, peaceful. They have never fought a real war in their entire history. And now they are paying the price for that peace, Chen replied. Dr. Vasquez nodded sadly. The Vorthak hegemony has conquered 17 worlds in the last 50 years. They always pick on species that will not fight back. The Council always lets them do it because stopping them would require violence. Chen turned to face her senior officers. These were men and women who had trained their entire lives for a war that might never come. They had grown up hearing stories of Earth's rejection by the stars. They had learned to fight not because they loved violence, but because someone had to be ready when the talking stopped working. Opinions, Chen said simply. Could be a trap, Webb said immediately. He was old enough to remember the Martian colony. Wars, when Earth's outer settlements had been attacked by unknown raiders. The Council might be testing us, seeing if we will leave our system. The emotion in that alien's voice was real, Dr. Vasquez argued. I have studied Cytherian psychology for years. They cannot fake that kind of fear and desperation. Even if it is real, Commander Torres said from the tactical station, we are talking about revealing ourselves to the galaxy. Once we do this, there is no going back. The Council will know we have been building ships and exploring their space. And they will know we are not the helpless primitives they thought we were, added Commander Kim from Engineering. Chen listened to the debate for several minutes. These were all good points. This decision would change everything for humanity. They would go from hidden observers to active players in galactic politics. But in the end, the decision was easy. Dr. Vasquez, Chen said, in your opinion, if we do nothing, what happens to the Cytherians? They all die or become slaves, she answered without hesitation. The Vorthak do not show mercy. And if we help them, some of them live, maybe all of them. If we are successful? Chen nodded. Then we help them. Captain Webb, signal the fleet. All ships are to prepare for combat operations. We leave in 1 hour. Yes, ma'am, Webb replied with a grim smile. As the bridge crew moved, to carry out her orders, Chen opened a communication channel to the Cytherian ambassador. Ambassador Zira Ka, this is Admiral Sarah Chen. We are coming to help you. Hold your position and keep your people safe. We will be there in 18 hours. The alien's voice came back full of confusion and desperate hope. Who are you? What species are you? I cannot find your people in any of our databases. We are human, Chen replied. We come from a world your council decided was too dangerous for civilized space. They quarantined us 300 years ago because we were too violent, too aggressive, too willing to fight. There was a long pause before Ziraka responded. And now you are coming to help us. Yes, Chen said, because sometimes violence is the right answer. Sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to be more dangerous than the things that threaten them. Another pause. I do not understand. Chen smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just caught the scent of prey. You will, she said. When we arrive, you will understand exactly why the galaxy was so afraid of us, and so will the Vorthak. The communication ended. Around Chen, the bridge hummed with activity as the human fleet prepared for war. 1,200 ships built for one purpose, to be the sword in the darkness when the light failed. The Cytherians had sent out a desperate cry for help. The civilized galaxy had offered thoughts and prayers. Humanity offered something much more practical. They offered to kill anyone who stood in the way of justice. It was time to remind the galaxy why Earth was called a death world. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Serenity system like thunder made visible. 1,200 ships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls dark and angular, built for war rather than beauty. They moved with deadly purpose toward the burning world at the system's heart. Fleet Commander Gorth Val of the Vorthak Hegemony was in his command chamber when the alerts began screaming. His massive form, covered in thick armor plates, turned toward the sensor display with lazy interest. Another group of do-gooders coming to make useless threats, no doubt. The Vorthak had been here for 3 weeks, taking their time with the conquest of Serenity Prime. Gorth Val liked to make examples of worlds that resisted the hegemony. Fear was a useful tool, and dead planets sent clear messages to the next targets. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet." "Put it through," Gorth Val ordered. His mandibles clicked in. Amusement. This should be entertaining. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and hard, speaking perfect galactic standard with an accent Gorth Val did not recognize. "Vorthak vessels, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command. You have 30 seconds to cease your attacks on Kytherian civilians and withdraw from this system immediately." Gorth Val's laughter was like rocks grinding together. "Unknown aliens, I am Fleet Commander Gorth Val of the mighty Vorthak Hegemony. We have conquered 17 worlds and enslaved 43 species. Your threats mean nothing to us." "This is not a threat," Admiral Chen replied. "This is your final warning. You have 15 seconds. "Primitive fools," Gorth Val roared. "We are the masters of this galaxy. We fear no one. Surrender or be destroyed." The response came back immediately, spoken with the kind of cold certainty that made even veteran warriors nervous. "Negative. You are in violation of basic sentient rights. You have harmed innocents under our protection. Time's up." Gorth Val was about to order his ships to fire when something impossible happened. The human fleet simply disappeared. For 3 seconds. The Vorthak sensors showed empty space where 1,200 enemy ships had been. Then the sensors screamed warnings as the humans reappeared, scattered throughout the Vorthak formation like ghosts, materializing from nightmares. "Impossible," Gorth Val shouted. "No one can jump that close to other ships. The gravity fields would tear them apart." His weapons officer was already firing, but the human ships moved like nothing the Vorthak had ever fought. They were fast, deadly, and completely unpredictable. Where other species fought in neat formations with predictable tactics, the humans swarmed like angry insects. The first Vorthak heavy cruiser died when a human ship called the Stalingrad rammed it at full speed. The impact was so violent it created a small star for 3 seconds before both ships vanished in nuclear fire. "They're ramming us!" someone screamed over the comm. "The crazy aliens are ramming our ships!" But that was just the beginning. Human ships that looked damaged kept fighting long after they should have been dead. Vessels with half their hulls blown away continued firing their weapons. Ships that were clearly out of ammunition started ramming enemy vessels or trying to board them. The boarding actions were the worst part. Vorthak warriors were large, strong, and heavily armored. They had conquered dozens of species through superior strength and ruthless tactics. But when human soldiers cut through their hull plating and came aboard their ships, the Vorthak learned what real violence looked like. Humans fought like demons. They were smaller than Vorthak warriors, but they moved with terrible speed and coordination. They used weapons and tactics that civilized species would call barbaric. They showed no fear of death, no hesitation to sacrifice themselves to hurt their enemies. Worse, they seemed to enjoy it. Captain Maria Santos led the boarding party that took the Vorthak command ship Bone Crusher. She was a small woman by human standards, but she moved through the enemy vessel like a force of nature. Her assault rifle chattered constantly as she advanced down the corridors, her team following behind her like wolves following their pack leader. The Vorthak crew had never faced anything like her. They were used to enemies who would surrender when the situation became hopeless. Humans did not surrender. They fought harder when things got desperate. Santos reached the bridge just as Commander Thurok was trying to send a distress signal to other hegemony fleets. She put 3 bullets in his chest before he could finish the transmission. Bridge secured, she reported over her comm. Moving to engineering to set charges. Negative, Captain, came Admiral Chen's reply. We need that ship intact. The Catherians will want to study Vorthak technology. Santos grinned, showing teeth that had been sharpened to points in the old Earth fashion. Roger that, Admiral. We'll gift wrap it for them. Back on his flagship, Gorth Val watched his fleet die with growing horror. In 3 hours of battle, he had lost 40 ships. The humans had lost 12. Worse, the human casualties seemed to make the survivors fight even harder. Sir, his sensor operator said, voice shaking, the humans are broadcasting something. What are they saying? It's not words, sir. It's music. The sound that filled the Vorthak command ship was unlike anything they had ever heard. Wild, savage music that spoke of ancient hunts and tribal warfare. Human voices raised in songs that were older than civilization. But underneath the music was something else. Human voices, calm and professional, coordinating their attacks with cold efficiency. Hammer Squadron, break left and take out those missile boats. Copy that, Control. Sword Squadron, follow me in. We're going for the flagship. All units, this is Admiral Chen. The Catherians are watching this battle. Show them what happens when someone threatens the innocent. Gorth Val realized with sick certainty that his fleet was not just being defeated. It was being made an example of. The humans were not just winning. They were demonstrating their power for the entire galaxy to see. All ships, he broadcast, retreat! Fall back to hyperspace! But the humans had predicted this. As the surviving Vorthak ships tried to flee, they found human vessels waiting for them at every jump point. The creatures from Earth had surrounded them completely. Only 6 Vorthak ships escaped the slaughter. They jumped to hyperspace carrying a message that would spread fear throughout the hegemony and beyond. The quarantine around Sol system had been broken. The humans were free, and they were very, very angry about 300 years of forced isolation. On Serenity Prime, Ambassador Zira Ka stood in the ruins of her city and watched the human ships in orbit. The beautiful crystal spires of her world lay shattered, but her people were alive. The humans had saved them. But as she watched the alien vessels move through space with deadly grace, Zira Ka wondered if her people had been rescued, or if they had simply traded one set of masters for another. The humans had not come bringing mercy. They had come bringing war, and they were very, very good at it. The transport shuttle landed in what had once been the main plaza of Serenity Prime's capital city. Ambassador Zira Ka waited nervously as the human vessel's doors opened with a soft hiss. She had never met a human before, and everything she had seen in the last day had filled her with both gratitude and fear. Admiral Sarah Chen stepped out first, followed by 2 officers and 4 soldiers. Zira Ka was surprised by how small they looked. The humans were not much bigger than Catherians, yet they had destroyed a Vorthak fleet that had terrorized this part of the galaxy for decades. Chen walked with the easy confidence of someone who had never met a problem she could not solve with sufficient violence. Her gray hair was pulled back in a simple knot, and her uniform was clean but showed signs of recent combat. There was something in her dark eyes that made Zira Ka think of hunting predators. Ambassador Zira Ka, Chen said, offering her hand, in what Zira Ka had learned was a human greeting. I am sorry we could not arrive sooner. Zira Ka took the offered hand carefully. Human skin was warm and rough, marked with small scars. Admiral Chen, my people owe you a debt we can never repay. You saved us when no one else would help. Chen's expression softened slightly. No debt is owed. This is what we do. As they walked through the ruined city, Zira Ka saw human soldiers everywhere. They were helping clear rubble, treating wounded Catherians, and setting up temporary shelters. But their kindness was paired with a readiness for violence that disturbed her. Every human carried multiple weapons. Their eyes constantly scanned for threats. They moved with the fluid grace of creatures born to fight. Even their medics looked like they could kill someone with their bare hands if needed. Your people, Zira Ka said carefully. They are very intense. Chen nodded. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. It leaves its mark. They reached the medical center that the humans had set up in the ruins of the old library. Inside, human doctors worked alongside Catherian healers to treat the wounded. The efficiency was remarkable, but the casual way the humans discussed injuries that would horrify most civilized species made Ziraka's skin crawl. Lost both legs below the knee, but the cybernetics should have him walking in a week. One human. Doctor was saying. Lucky, replied another. The Vorthak really did a number on this batch. At least they will all live. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached them, pulling off blood-stained medical gloves. Admiral, Ambassador, the casualty count is lower than we feared. The Catherians build their structures well. Many people survived in the lower levels. How many? Ziraka asked. 7 million survivors out of an original population of 12 million, Dr. Vasquez said gently. It could have been much worse. Ziraka felt her legs go weak. 5 million of her people were dead. To the humans, this was apparently good news. Chen caught her before she could fall. I know it seems like a lot, the Admiral said quietly, but if we had not come, it would have been all 12 million. The Vorthak do not take prisoners once their conquest is complete. As they continued their tour, Ziraka saw more signs of the humans' strange nature. They were incredibly kind to civilians, especially children. Human soldiers would stop their important work to play games with young Catherians or share their food with hungry families. But when they thought no one was watching, their faces became cold and hard. These were people who had seen too much violence, done too many terrible things in the name of protecting others. Admiral, Ziraka said as they stood looking out at the human fleet in orbit, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Why did you come? You do not know us. We have never helped your people. Your own Galactic Council rejected you centuries ago. Why risk your lives for strangers? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Do you know what Earth is like, Ambassador? Your files say it is a death world, classed without danger rating, unsuitable for most forms of life. That is all true, Chen said. Earth is a nightmare world where everything wants to kill you. Ice ages that last for centuries, volcanoes that can destroy continents, storms that make your worst weather look like a gentle breeze. Predators that hunt in packs and show no mercy. Then how did your species survive? By learning to be more dangerous than everything else, Chen replied, but also by learning to protect each other. On Earth you cannot survive alone. You need your pack, your tribe, your family. And when something threatens your people, you fight back with everything you have. She pointed at the ruined city around them. When we heard your call for help, it did not matter that you were aliens. It did not matter that we had never met. You were calling for protection, and we are very good at providing that. Dr. Vasquez joined them, carrying a datapad full of reports. The Vorthak survivors have been broadcasting warnings about us across the galaxy, she said. They are calling us demons from the quarantine zone and monsters that feast on war. How poetic, Chen said dryly. It gets worse, Dr. Vasquez continued. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They want to discuss the human problem and whether we should be forced back into quarantine. Ziraka felt a chill run through her. They cannot do that. You saved my people. You did what they were too cowardly to do. The Council is afraid of us, Chen explained. They have spent centuries building a civilization based on the idea that violence is never the answer. We just proved them wrong in the most dramatic way possible. As if summoned by their conversation, a new ship appeared in the sky above them. It was sleek and white, marked with the symbols of the Galactic Council. The diplomatic vessel took up position well away from the human fleet. Speaking of the Council, Dr. Vasquez said, checking her scanner, Counselor Vexmore is requesting permission to land. Chen's smile was sharp as broken glass. By all means. Let's see what the civilized galaxy has to say about our uncivilized methods. The Council shuttle landed an hour later. Counselor Vexmore emerged with his usual parade of assistants and guards. He was a tall, thin being with pale green skin and large black eyes. His species, the ethereal ones, were known for their dedication to peace and their complete inability to handle direct conflict. Admiral Chen, Vexmore said, his voice carrying the tone of someone addressing a particularly dangerous wild animal. I am here to discuss your unauthorized military action in this system. Unauthorized? Chen's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Ambassador Zira Ka sent out a distress call. We responded. Where exactly do we need authorization to prevent genocide? The proper channels exist for a reason, Vexmore replied stiffly. Military action should only be taken after careful consideration, and diplomatic solutions have been exhausted. How long would that have taken? Zira Ka interrupted. How many of my people would have died while you were carefully considering whether their lives were worth saving? Vexmore looked uncomfortable. The Council was prepared to send a strongly worded message to the Vorthak hegemony. A strongly worded message, Chen repeated. How effective have those been in the past, Counselor? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Everyone present knew the answer. Strongly worded messages had never stopped the Vorthak from conquering worlds. The point is, Vexmore said finally, that humans were quarantined for good reasons. You are too aggressive, too quick to resort to violence. This incident proves that you are not ready for integration into civilized space. Chen's laugh was like ice cracking. Civilized space? Counselor, your civilized space just watched an entire species face extinction and offered them thoughts and prayers. We offered them something more practical. You offered them war. We offered them victory. Zira Ka stepped forward, her 4 arms spread wide. Counselor Vexmore, with respect, you are wrong. The humans did not bring us war. War was already here. The humans brought us hope. She gestured to the city around them, where human and Cytherian workers labored side by side to rebuild what had been destroyed. For 3 weeks we sent messages begging for help. The entire Galactic Council ignored us while my people died. The humans heard our call and came running. They asked for nothing in return. They risked their lives for complete strangers. Her voice grew stronger. If that is what you call uncivilized behavior, then perhaps civilization is not worth preserving. 3 months after the Battle of Serenity Prime, the galaxy was a very different place. The story of humanity's intervention had spread like wildfire through civilized space. The gentle species who had ignored the Cytherian SOS now whispered nervously about the quarantine breakers who had answered with overwhelming force. Some called them heroes, others called them monsters. Most were simply afraid. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, reading the latest intelligence reports. The Vorthak hegemony had pulled back from 3 planned conquests, after learning that humans might respond. The brutal Tusk Empire had actually freed 2 slave worlds rather than risk drawing human attention. Fear, Chen reflected, was indeed a useful tool, but fear came with a price. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Hayes reported from communications, we have 17 new distress calls this week. The peaceful archipelagians are being enslaved by the Tusk Empire. The Librarian Collective is under attack by the Bookburners. The gentle traders are being raided by the Iron Pirates. Chen nodded grimly. This was the problem they had created. By proving that someone in the galaxy was willing to fight back against oppression, they had given hope to every downtrodden species in known space. The oppressed were calling out to humanity like drowning people calling for lifeguards. But Earth's resources were not infinite. The human fleet was powerful, but it could not be everywhere at once. How many ships can we spare for rescue operations? Chen asked. Maybe 200 without leaving Earth defenseless, Captain Webb replied. But that means we can only respond to the worst cases. Chen understood the mathematics of mercy. Every world they saved meant another world they could not help. Every tyrant they destroyed meant 2 others would escape justice. It was a bitter equation with no perfect solutions. The bridge doors opened, and Dr. Vasquez entered with Ambassador Zira Ka. The Cytherian diplomat had become humanity's unofficial ambassador to the rest of the galaxy, speaking for the growing coalition of species who had allied with Earth. Admiral, Zira Ka said, the Galactic Council has made their decision. Chen turned to face her, already knowing the answer from the expression on the alien's face. They voted to demand our return to quarantine, Zira Ka said. Counselor Vexmore claims that human military actions are destabilizing the galactic order. Of course they did, Chen said without surprise. And I assume they have no alternative plan for dealing with the Vorthak, the Tusk Empire, or any of the other predators out there? They suggested forming a committee to study the problem, Dr. Vasquez said dryly. Estimated completion time for their recommendations is 15 years. Chen walked to the main view screen, which showed the rebuilt cities of Serenity Prime below. The Catherians had worked with human engineers to make their world even more beautiful than before. But now it was also defended by orbital platforms and a small human garrison. "What do the other species say?" Chen asked. Ziraka's expression brightened. 47 worlds have formally allied with humanity. They are calling it the Protection Alliance. We are offering an alternative to council membership for species who want real security instead of empty promises. This was the galaxy's dirty secret. Most species were tired of the council's inability to protect them from aggressors. They wanted someone who would actually fight back when evil came calling. The humans offered exactly that, and their reputation was growing daily. "Admiral," Hayes called out. "Priority transmission coming in. It's from the Harmonious Federation." Chen frowned. The Federation had been one of the voices demanding humanity return to quarantine. "Put it through." The hologram that appeared showed Chancellor Bloomsong, leader of the Federation's governing council. The plant-like being looked deeply uncomfortable. "Admiral Chen," Bloomsong said, "I am speaking to you in secret. My government's public position has not changed, but privately, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The Iron Pirates have taken 3 of our colony worlds. They are demanding tribute from our remaining planets. If we do not pay, they will begin killing our people." Chen's expression did not change, but her voice grew colder. "And what does the Galactic Council suggest you do about this?" "They have offered to send a diplomatic mission to negotiate with the pirates," Bloomsong said bitterly. "The Iron Pirates responded by sending back the heads of our previous diplomatic mission. There it was. The reality that the civilized galaxy refused to acknowledge. Sometimes violence was the only language that bullies understood." "What are you asking from us, Chancellor?" Bloomsong seemed to shrink in on himself. "Help us, please. I know my government has spoken against you, but our people are dying. The pirates will not listen to reason." Chen looked at Ziraka, who nodded slightly. The Catherian ambassador had become very good at reading human expressions. "Send us the location of the pirate bases," Chen said. "We will handle this quietly. Your government can continue to publicly oppose us while privately accepting our protection." "Thank you," Bloomsong whispered. "We will not forget this." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in thoughtful silence. "That makes it official," Captain Webb said. "Even the species that hate us need us." Dr. Vasquez pulled up a star chart, showing the current state of the galaxy. Red dots marked worlds under attack or facing threats. Blue dots showed human allies. Green dots marked council worlds that had secretly requested human protection. "We have created a new paradigm," she said. "The old system of pure diplomacy is breaking down. Species are realizing that sometimes you need someone willing to fight." Chen studied the chart carefully. The mathematics were complex, but the pattern was clear. Humanity was becoming the galaxy's unofficial police force, whether the council wanted it or not. "Admiral," Ziraka said quietly, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever regret answering my distress call? Your people were safe in their quarantine. Now you are responsible for protecting half the galaxy." Chen was quiet for a long moment, thinking about all the human lives that had been lost in the last 3 months. Every rescue mission cost blood. Every world they saved meant human families received death notices. But then she thought about the Catherian children she had seen playing in the rebuilt parks of Serenity Prime. She thought about the freed slaves on 6 different worlds, who now had hope for the future. She thought about the bullies and tyrants who now hesitated before attacking the weak, knowing that humanity might respond. "No," she said finally. "We do not regret it. This is who we are. This is what we do." The bridge. Doors opened again and Commander Torres entered with a datapad full of new reports. "Admiral, we have confirmation that the Iron Pirates have been eliminated. All Federation colony worlds have been liberated. Also, the bookburners retreated from Librarian space after we sent a single destroyer to patrol the area." Chen nodded. Word of human capabilities was spreading. Sometimes the threat of intervention was enough to stop atrocities before they started. "What else?" "The Galactic Council has issued a formal statement demanding we return to quarantine within 30 days, Torres continued. "They are threatening economic sanctions against any species that allies with us." "And the response from our allies?" Torres smiled. 47 worlds just became 53. apparently being threatened by the Council for associating with humans is considered a badge of honor now, Zirika laughed, a sound like crystal bells. The Council does not understand. We have seen what happens when civilized species face real evil. We have seen who answers the call for help and who offers empty words. Chen turned back to the view screen, watching human and alien ships patrol together around Serenity Prime. The sight filled her with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy wanted to keep us isolated because we were too dangerous for their peace, she said. They never understood that we were not dangerous to them. We were dangerous to the things that threatened them. She activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting to the entire human fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. We have new distress calls from across the galaxy. Species that had given up hope are calling out to us. Bullies who thought themselves untouchable are learning to fear justice. She paused, thinking about the long road that had led humanity to this moment. 300 years ago, the galaxy rejected us for being too violent. Today, they need us for the same reason. We are no longer the quarantined primitives they thought we were. We are the sword in the darkness when the light fails. Her voice grew stronger, carrying the conviction of someone who had found their true purpose. The Galactic Council can demand our return to isolation. They can threaten sanctions and diplomatic consequences. But they cannot change one simple fact. When evil comes calling, when bullies threaten the innocent, when the civilized galaxy offers thoughts and prayers instead of action, it is humanity that answers the call. She looked around the bridge at her officers, these men and women who had dedicated their lives to protecting strangers. We did not choose this responsibility. It chose us, and we will carry it until every tyrant fears justice and every innocent sleeps safely. The communication ended, but the message had been heard across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer quarantined. They were no longer hidden.